I tried to do this already, and then they let it run for, when I watched it back, they let it run for like 6 minutes, and then it says video not available, halfway through the video. They just corrupt it. They obviously, I don't know, do they do it mid while you're doing it, like at the same time, or do they wait until you've done it and then kind of go, oh, we don't fucking like that she said, oh, we don't like that, no, she's not getting to put this fucking video up, or is it just anything? I could literally say anything and they wouldn't like it, literally say anything I want. Rosemary Rogers and Stephen and Emma Price are a massive part of my gang stalking. My aunt, Rosemary, has been targeting me since I was a child. She also targeted my father and mother and was cause of their deaths. There we go. Do you like me saying that? Do you like me saying that, Rosemary? What about you, Daniel? I know you're part of it all as well. Do you like that? We'll start naming you as well and see what my lovely brother done to me when I was 9 years old, shall we? Should we get into that? You definitely fucking won't like me saying that, will yous? No? Or was I 11? Sorry, I was 11. It's funny, I only ever told someone this once. Only ever told one person about what happened, what my brother did when I was 9 years old. Well, I said I was 9 years old when I told them this story. One person I told in my life. And when they came into my house and they had to go at me, they said, you weren't 9. They didn't deny it hadn't happened, because they knew it had happened, because they've been watching my whole life. They didn't say, oh, it didn't happen, you're a liar. They said, you weren't 9, you were 11. Which I find quite comical, it's not comical that it happened, but I mean, they also said you were a little tart, you were a little tart, you're a little slut. You're 11 and you enjoyed it, you wanted it to happen. Obviously those those come on eyes that I had when I was 11, these fuck me eyes that I obviously had when at 11 years old, little girl. That was the cause of it, I brought it on myself apparently, so, because he's a member of their network, it's not that I'm a liar or anything, just that I lied about my age. I didn't actually lie, I just thought that I was 9. I thought I was younger than I was, which makes it worse, to be honest, because if I was 9 then he was 11, but if I was 11 then he's 14, so, you can kind of excuse an 11-year-old, couldn't you? You could kind of say, well, they're just 11, they're just a child, but then a 14-year-old starts getting into kind of sketchy ground then, doesn't it? What 14-year-olds do to 11-year-old little sisters. Anyway, I'm sure they'll cut this off. They don't want me fucking speaking about that, do we? The people that are involved in my targeting. Don't want to talk about anything like that, anything true that's happened. No. Cannot have that. It wasn't what I was talking about in my first video, by the way. That wasn't what I was speaking about. Well, there we go. It's all said now, Get these things off your chest, you feel a hell of a lot better. What excuses are you cunts going to make now, eh? What excuses? Oh, you weren't 11, you were 15 and you wanted it. Oh, I desperately wanted it. When I was a child, and I spent my whole childhood flirting with my brother. Yeah, of course. Anyway, what I was talking about was, it makes me sad when people make videos and I hear them and they say, I'm being gang stalked, but, I've done shitty things in my life, I've done this and I've done that, and you can tell that they might not be kind of saying it, they're not saying the words I deserve it, but that they're certainly kind of thinking that, or they're going down that road in their own minds, that they deserve it. It's a bit windy, so I'm going to stay here behind the hedge. And it makes me sad that people think like that. It makes me sad that people feel that way, that they're trying to kind of justify it in their own, justify what these people are doing in their own minds, that they're internalising the abuse that's been handed out to them, and it's not your fault, it's not your fault at all. I've done loads of shitty things that I deeply regret, and when you're being watched 24 hours a day, when you're being spied upon, and you're being, your brain has been hacked. Let's not fucking, mess about when talking about this. I know people don't like to think that's true, but your brain has been hacked. They're in certain thoughts, they're in certain things into your brain, they're in certain moods. They're tampering with your dreams, they're tampering with your emotional state at all times, It's not like this happens to you during the day and then you go to sleep and you're able to refresh at night. You're not. It's all day and all night, so. But when they're doing that to you, when they're watching you for 24 hours a day for your whole life, they're bound to find things that are dodgy, that they can try and use to justify, and they will, but just know that the justification comes after they've already started doing these things to you. They need that justification to justify to other people outside why they're doing this to you. That justification, it wasn't there to start with. They were already doing this. And then when you done something wrong, they were just like, yes, ka-ching, there we go. There's another little notch in our post. We can use that against her. I don't claim to be a saint. I never have. I've done plenty of bad things. I made a video about fucking cheating, for crying out loud. I've also lied. I've also stolen when I was a little kid. I've done all the bad things. I've done all the shitey things, and it doesn't make me a shitey person. It really doesn't. In their eyes, they get a little snapshot, and they get a little video compilation of me smacking my child, or shouting at my dog, or having road rage, or calling someone a cunt, or losing my fucking temper, or whatever it is that I've done, in the moment. And they put it into a little video compilation, and they try and make that your narrative. You are that person. You're a terrible, horrible, abusive person. But the truth is that these are the people who have an ongoing campaign of abuse against other people, and not just against you and I, against their own families. These are the people that abuse their children. And I don't mean shouting at or smacking a child in temper, which I'm not trying to justify that behaviour at all, but I'm not going to go into it either. But theirs is an ongoing campaign of abuse. Theirs is an everyday abuse of their child, abuse of their families. Whereas, normal people lose their temper and do things that they regret, They lose the plot in the moment. It's not an ongoing campaign of abuse, it's just a lack of control. So don't ever let these people make you feel like you deserve what's been done to you, because you truly don't. You really, really don't. And, I don't know, I'm not particularly religious, but I do know that there is a God, and I know that God is the only person that will ever be able to judge me. Finally, eventually I'll be judged by him. And if you're not religious, then would you give a fuck what they think of you? Would you care? Would you care? Because if you're not religious, then no one's judging you, so you shouldn't care. So don't take these cunts and their fucking manufactured justifications that you're a bad bastard and you deserve this. You're not. You're a normal person, and normal people make mistakes. Normal people do things wrong. Normal people lie. Normal people do things out of spite. Normal people get angry. Normal people, are in a moment, and when they've got hate in their life, they project hatred onto other people. Normal people do that. Normal people do not, however, carry out ongoing campaigns of harassment and abuse. Normal people don't do that. Normal people lose their temper in a moment, or be angry, or sulk, or be spiteful, or be bitchy, or walk away, cut off people, ghost people, But carrying out an ongoing campaign of harassment against someone is not something that normal people do. It's something that spiteful, bitter, hateful people do. And you're not one of them, because you don't do that. If you were a fucking terrible person, you'd be on their team. That's the fact of the matter. If you were a piece of fucking shit, you would already be working alongside them, because their team is just filled with pieces of shit. Anyway, that's all for now, so take care. God bless. Lots of love. Bye bye.